Should running a profitable business steal every second of your day? Running a six-figure business does take a full-time commitment, but it doesn't need to take full-time hours. It's a commonly held belief that you need to work 60-hour weeks to run a six-figure and beyond business, but that simply isn't true. And how do I know this with certainty? Because I've done it. In fact, I actually run two six-figure businesses in less than 20 hours a week on average, and I'm in the middle of starting another. So in this video, I'm going to share the 8 levers that I've used and how you can use them to increase the profitability of your business with a whole lot less sweat equity required. Welcome back to Your Content Empire, the YouTube channel dedicated to helping you get more consistent and profitable with content the easy way. I'm your host, Haley Dale, a content and sales funnel strategist obsessed with bringing you all the latest and greatest in content and marketing. Running my businesses in only 20 hours a week on average hasn't always been the case. Figuring out how to run my business this way was a direct result of way too many late nights with not a day off in sight. I had burnout and experienced a real dark night of the soul moment when I knew I couldn't continue working the way I did, and I might be faced with the options of having to shut down my business because it just wasn't for me if I was going to have to work that hard all the time. With that being said, I also recognize how the time and energy I invested in those early years really set me up for success now. Without it, I doubt that I'd have the businesses I do now, and I have a whole lot of gratitude and respect for younger me who really did pay the price. So there was a time when I thought that I would always be glued to my desk and destined to abandon any semblance of a social life forever. But luckily, that's not the case, and there were 8 levers that I've found that allow me to do more in less time and focus on the things that matter. But just before we get started, a small little disclaimer. I am a woman of privilege. I am a white woman without kids living in a dual income household, and I acknowledge that not everyone listening to this will have the same privilege that I do. Perhaps all of the strategies outlined here won't work for you, but I encourage you to take what does work and leave the rest. That considered, anything that you can do, anything you can implement that has the power to help you run your business even a little bit better and give you even a little bit more freedom, I think is worth the effort. So now let's address the critical aspect of mindset before we get into the 8 levers that helped me grow and run six-figure businesses in less than 20 hours a week on average. So the first thing here that I want to discuss is hustle and anti-hustle culture. Where is the middle ground? So there has been a huge, big reaction against hustle culture in recent years, and rightfully so, right? Hustle culture is harmful to entrepreneurs and small business owners. It makes us believe that we're only worthy if we never stop working, feel exhausted, disregarded much needed breaks, and completely neglect our mental health. I certainly know from experience that I have bought into that hustle culture mentality that's been pushed so hard. But then on the other side, there's this anti-hustle culture reaction, which has been both confusing and confronting for small business owners and entrepreneurs. Anti-hustle culture says if we're working hard, we're doing it wrong. It tells us that every day should come with the utmost luxury and leisure and flexibility and freedom, but running a business can't always be that way. That's why I really take issue with both hustle and anti-hustle culture. Both are kind of unrealistic and inauthentic, and they've left no room for people in the middle, who understand that running a business, and especially starting a business, is going to have some give and take and is going to require you to put in some extra hours. So building a business is hard work, especially in those initial stages. It's really irresponsible to try to perpetuate the myth that it isn't and it doesn't need to be hard work. You are not a bad business owner if you can't do everything you need to do in 20 hours a week or less. Think of it as a goal or an intention, whatever that number is for you, that you can strive and work towards, because it is possible for every business owner, but timing is everything. For myself, here are really 8 levers that I found that make it possible. Lever number 1 is a signature process. So one of the biggest time-saving and value-adding assets in a service-based or an information-based business is a signature process. Your signature process is unique to you. It doesn't need to be completely unique. And it's a proven framework that you use to guide someone through to deliver on the promise of your offer, aka the results. I have 2 signature processes, one in each of my businesses. In my agency, there's my 3-layer profit building funnel methodology methodology. And in my education company, there's the Content Empire Blueprint. Here is a peek at the Content Empire framework that guides all of my courses, my programs, and my content. Having these in place really saves me oodles of time because it means that I'm not reinventing the wheel for every single client or customer who works with me. It also builds trust because I have a ton of signature, of proof that the signature processes work with hundreds of businesses across multiple industries and niches. And having that signature process allows you to pull out those success stories in a way that you can point back to that signature process. So it's kind of like this, self-fulfilling loop there that goes round and round and round and round and reinforces the other. There are really two important things to keep in mind when it comes to coming up with your own signature process though. Number one, it is a tool to guide your clients or customers' journeys, not restricted. So even though I have a pretty set process that I follow, with every single client, I do customize it for every single client depending on their business and their goals. The signature process in a service-based business especially is usually a starting place, not a copy and paste template. Number two, because a signature process relies on proof that it works, it usually isn't something that you should have figured out right away in your business. Your first year or even couple of years, will likely be experimenting with a few different versions of a process until you find something that works for you and the people you want to help and is designed the right way through experimentation and hard work and muscle work, that gets result and is designed to get the best results for the most people possible. Lever number two is investment in long-term content assets. So investing in long-term content assets completely changed the way I run my business. So zooming out and seeing the bigger picture of my body of work made me realize that creating content, in a last minute panic, just constantly being on that content hamster wheel week in and week out was never going to get me where I needed and wanted to be. One of my favorite strategies is building a capsule content collection. It's part of my minimalist content strategy system, which includes creating 12 core blog posts around an offer based on specific topics. I create capsule content for both of my businesses, and doing this really got me out of the weeds when it comes to creating content because it helps me step off the content hamster wheel, knowing that the assets that I need have already been created and pulled and published whenever I need them. It allows me to really stay consistent. However, it doesn't mean you can't create new content when the mood strikes. I still create content pretty regularly. You can still whip up new content when you feel inspired, but you won't be under the same pressure to create something or show up. If you're a content strategist, you may love creating content like I do and be in for that, I want to create something new, most weeks of the month. But if you're not a content strategist and you're like, this is a content hamster wheel I want to get off and I really want to save time when it comes to my content, the capsule content approach can be a lifesaver for you there, a major time saver. Lever number three has been systems. So besides my body of work, my content assets, and my signature process that my offers are based around, my next most valuable asset in my business are my systems. But where do you start, right? So think about anything that you do more than once in your business, whether that's daily, weekly, or monthly, or quarterly, and ask yourself, can I turn this into a system? A great example is with emails. If you find yourself, writing a similar email regularly, for example, to follow up with a client, this would be the perfect opportunity to create a canned email template so you can save time in every single one of those interactions rather than starting from scratch all the time. You can simply upload the canned email template and Google, Gmail has it built right in there, and just customize it for that client. Here's a peek at my operations manual. And here are the categories that I use to brainstorm the systems that I need in my business. So I break it down by offer systems, content systems, CEO systems, marketing systems, admin systems, and team systems. If you're not sure where to start with your systems, I find that documenting your offer delivery process in your core content workflow tends to have the biggest bang for your buck when it comes to saving you time. So lever number 4 is team. So once you have your systems and your signature process in place, hiring and delegating becomes so much easier. In fact, I don't usually recommend, until you have that systems for everything that you want someone to do and everything that you want to delegate to someone else. I think that hiring can kind of lead you down a pretty bad path and turn you off hiring and delegating, and thinking and buying into that false narrative that I'm the only one who can do this, right? Whereas if you have the right systems for the things that you want to start delegating, training and hiring someone is easy peasy, right? You barely need to train someone, and if you can hire someone to do the things that you don't want to do or don't need to do, you're going to free up valuable time to spend elsewhere. So when you pair the documented, the things that you've documented for your systems and the things you want to hire someone else for, like I said, you're going to barely have to spend any time training, and you won't be as vulnerable to team turnover because if a team member leaves, you won't be facing hours and hours of training and onboarding because you can simply point to your documentation and your systems and that can get them ready to go, especially if you're like updating them in tandem with that team member. Like, ooh, do these still work? Keep them updated is part of your responsibility. But keep this in mind, some of the biggest mistakes you can make in your business revolve around your team, including hiring too soon. So hiring people for your business can be seen as a status symbol for some business owners, which is why so many business owners feel the pressure to start building a team before they're actually ready. One of the biggest vanity hires is like an online business manager who everyone it's like, ooh, I've made it and I have a successful business because I have an online business manager, and people will hire those much way too soon before they're ready. So just because you hire more people in your business doesn't mean that you're thriving and succeeding or making more than the person next to you that hasn't. So wait until you're ready, meaning that you have your systems for whatever they'll be doing documented, and you have room in your sales and your profit to pay someone. Next up, the biggest mistake is hiring the wrong people. So before you go looking for your first or your next team member, ask yourself where you really actually need support. So your next hire should be able to fill those specific gaps with their particular skills. And I always recommend doing a test assignment, definitely paid, right? No one should have to work for free, and a trial period in the hiring process to give you both a chance to determine if the role is a right fit. The final mistake that I see people make when it comes to hiring is not seeing yourself as a coach. So great teams aren't built overnight, and no matter how skilled your new hire is, they're still going to need time to adapt to your processes and systems. When you start bringing people on board, your responsibility and your commitment and your job goes beyond just setting expectations and paying the bill. It's your responsibility to step in and help the hire be successful through active coaching, meaning regular check-ins, welcoming mistakes as learning opportunities, and giving feedback. All right, so lever number 5 is vision. So having a clear vision is fundamental to helping you reach your business goals. If you don't have them, how do you even know what your business goals are? And are they things that you're pulling out of the air? Are they things that are working you towards that vision? So, having a great vision serves as a compass for keeping you on track when you have to make a decision in your business, big or small, including where to invest your time. So being able to make quick and decisive decisions for your business means you're going to waste less time trying to figure it out and have the confidence you need to spring into action. So this works big picture and small picture. Your small picture vision should reflect your ideal daily work routine. So this vision for your daily life should support the balance in your life that you're looking for. So once you set that vision that embraces the journey, so what the day in and day out is going to look like, not just the 5-year vision down the road, you're going to hopefully be able to relax into the process instead of stress scrambling morning to night to hit that next goal. The irony of this is that when you lose sight of your vision, you're actually rarely able to celebrate or bask in reaching those goals. You'll either be too burnt out or realize that the milestone you just passed, it wasn't actually fulfilling and it wasn't actually, mattering in the big picture of things. So here are a few ways you can keep your vision front and center in your business. Number 1, create and utilize a CEO dashboard. Number 2, record an audio of your vision or belief statements and listen to it at the start of your workday. That's what I like to do. It's 5 minutes, check in with my vision regularly. Third, you could create a vision board for your business and put it somewhere where you can see it every single day. Number 4, read over your vision and your annual goals on a daily basis. Ideally, I think you want to make sure that you're being exposed to your vision on a daily basis or a daily workday basis and touching base with it. Lever number 6 is annual and quarterly planning. So having a clear vision is a must for helping you reach goals that matter and enjoying the journey and getting there. But planning planning is the complementary piece that outlines the steps that you need to take to get there, and knowing what that next step is before you're even ready to take it. As a business owner, you've got a lot to do, right? Especially if you're working 20 hours or less a week to do it. So it's important to acknowledge your constraints, right? Your time and your resources, and figure out the best way to work within them. This is important, especially for parents and caregivers who have additional responsibilities outside of their business as well. So planning and making decisions in advance will help you dedicate your actual time working to actual heads down work on those priorities that matter, rather than like wasting time figuring out what your next move should be. If you need some help in creating these plans and figuring out how content fits into them, grab the 2023 Content Empire Planner. Lever number 7 is strategy over emotion. I am somebody who brings a whole lot of heart to my business, and it's super important that I show up and always look at the humanity and the people that I'm working with, and helping with their big content goals and their business goals. With that being said, it's also important to let the numbers have their say too. The numbers and the measurements and the insights in impact that strategy, right? And if you're ignoring the numbers, if you have a heads down, head in the sand approach when it comes to those numbers, it could lead you into, investing your time in the things that don't matter. So by keeping the numbers top of mind, it can inform your strategy and help you make decisions in a pinch when you feel conflicted. Like, what is actually a good investment of my time, and what is kind of a waste of time because it's not having an impact on the numbers that matter. The numbers don't lie, right? If you can know and trust that, you're going to make better decisions for your business, and it's going to save you a ton of time in the long run. Plus, it'll help you measure your progress and momentum to make sure that you're on the right track. If measuring all of your numbers weekly feels overwhelming right now, remember, just figure out what your most important metrics are and keep those front and center. Start collecting and analyzing these key performance indicators on a regular basis, and stay consistent and build the habit of tracking your numbers over time. Like Peter Drucker says, what gets measured gets managed. So if you want to be booking more sales calls, then you should absolutely be tracking the number of sales calls that you're booking. If collecting and reviewing your measurements doesn't come naturally to you or feels overwhelming, start small. Identify your top 2 to 3 measurements and just start with those and keeping track of those. So lever number 8 is work routines. It's so tempting, especially this time of year, to try on other people's productivity secrets and methods, especially towards the end of the year when you're really keen for a fresh start. What I've really learned though is that there's no shortcut for finding a productivity or a work style that works for you. And all you can really do, it's good to be exposed to a bunch of them, because all you can really do is try out different strategies, even mix and match them and come up with your own until you do find something that works. Knowing how you work is invaluable to getting more done in less time. Do you work better in heads down long marathons, or are you more productive when you work in short, ultra-focused stints? What type of work do you prefer to do in the morning, and what type of work feels natural for you later in the afternoon? The answers to these questions, should inform the structure of your work days, and you might be under this, assumption that, I'm not a very focused or I'm not a very productive person, but maybe it could just be the style that you're trying on from someone else and judging yourself based on that style of productivity and that work style. So if you are someone who is struggling to be focused, and you're struggling and you're thinking, I'm just not good at this, or I'm just not focused, or I'm just not good at XYZ, try approaching it a different way, right? For me, every day is a little bit different, which works for me. It keeps me from being bored, but I do have some structure based on my mood, my schedule, and my to-do list. So here are a few ways that my days are actually structured. So I have power hour days, and on these days, I block out specific power hour sessions, like 1 hour blocks, where all of my attention is on one thing within that blocked hour before moving on to the next. These days are really great if I have a bunch of unfinished to-dos on my list to get through. The next day, most of my days are focus block days. So most of my days are focus block days, and these are usually 2 hours in the morning for your content empire, so my education company, the most important priorities, and then 2 hours later in the afternoon for agency work, so quality control, checking in with team, measurements, reviewing builds, etc. Then 1 hour for wrapping up and answering emails, popping in on social, checking in with my community and my group, and then that's my day, 5 hours a day. Then I also have meeting days. I usually take meetings and coaching sessions on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, so on these days, I pick only 3 additional tasks that I have to get done so I don't overschedule myself. I have learned the hard way that working with my productivity style instead of against it means I actually get more done with the time that I do have available instead of just clocking in hours and having nothing to show for it at the end of the day. So find your own time to profit levers. So the biggest habit I've had to work on with my journey for maintaining and even growing sales while working less has been about choosing long-term investments. So in systems, in content assets, in team members, in routines, over short-term band-aid solutions. It's super, super tempting to, just do something yourself because it'd take more time to train someone to do it or set up a system that could train someone. But all of those just do somethings add up and take away from where your energy should really be spent and your time should really be spent. So I've gotten super, super clear on what a big enough business looks like for me. And while I'm open to growing, I don't want to do that at the expense of having to work 40+ hour weeks. Here are 2 questions to answer. So number 1, what is your vision for where you'd like your business to be in the next 12 months? And number 2, what do you want the journey of getting there to look like? AKA, how many hours do you want to be working a week? How do you want to be spending that time, etc. Any time is the perfect time to start examining what these are for you and using them to design a business, building a business in the way you want, also the business that you want, but also really considering that journey as well. So let me know in the comments, what time to profit levers do you think are going to have the biggest impact for you in 2023? And with that, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you want to be the first to know when the next video goes live, hint, it's usually Mondays, although it won't be until the new year at this point. Ring that bell, and until next time, here is to your content empire.